My first episode is special, somebody that inspires me daily and inspires most that I know. Masoom started young as the founder of Style Fiesta, a fashion portal. Today, India's biggest influencer and blogger, living in Antwerp but taking Indian fashion all over the world. From modeling for Louis Vuitton and walking the red carpet at Cannes, there's nothing that stops Masoom. Hear about her failures, successes, ups and downs. An inspirational interview, and I'm so glad this is my first. Hi, guys, and welcome to yet another episode, and possibly one that I've been waiting for since I decided to launch The Shan Show. Masoom, thank you so much for being here and being one of my first people on the show. When I thought of doing The Shan Show, you were the first thought and the first message that I did send out. So thank you for saying yes and being here today.
Thank you, Shan. Super excited to be here and chat with you, as always.
So everyone knows Masoom. I don't really need to introduce her. Masoom's an influencer, a fashion influencer, but of course, overall, Masoom doesn't only focus on fashion, but in our conversation, you'll hear about the different things that she does. If you follow her, you know that she does give you advice very subtly, but I've learned a lot by watching her videos and reading a lot about what she does. So Masoom, I'm going to start by asking you today, tell us a little bit about you, the you that you know. How different is Masoom the person and Masoom the influencer?
So, quite different, I'd say. And I think it's been a big part of my journey to be able to differentiate between these two aspects of Masoom the human and Masoom the brand. And so many times just on the internet, the more you share on the internet, and it might not necessarily be about your life, but even if you're just talking about your likes or your dislikes or your opinions, your perspectives, your identity gets so confusing, for everybody watching is one thing, but also for yourself. And that frankly is I think where a lot of anxiety, a lot of stress disorders kind of kick in, because you kind of are confused at the end of the day about who you really are. Are you this person who is on the internet all the time, or the person, or what you're talking about, is that actually what controls your life? But frankly, one of my strengths I consider, personally and professionally, is that I've been able to distinguish between these two identities very well. On the internet, I'm like constantly talking about fashion, and I'm talking about products, and I'm talking about how to style things and how to present yourself. But frankly, in my personal life, I don't think that is something that, like commands 80% of my personal life. What I talk about, I believe, is my expertise, is my passion, which is why I want to build a community around it, share more about it. But in my personal life, I think my priorities are very different. And the internet Masoom just falls under the work category.
Yeah, you have really maintained both work Masoom, like you call it, and the real Masoom, which is you in every day. You are very different, because I do know you personally and I see that. But I think that the best part about you and the best part of what viewers see is that you're very real. So what they see of you on the internet, I know that if you meet a random person, they can actually be like, hey, I know you. Or like, they'll walk up to you and be like, actually, I know so much about you. And that's lovely too.
Yeah.
Because that's a connect in itself. Masoom, I want to ask you, as social media grows and grows and grows, and when it started, you were one of the first, to really start up on Instagram as one of a fashion blogger and now an influencer. You've taken this up as a career choice. How lucrative do you think this is, and how have you really managed to take this to the next level?
So I think content creation used to be called blogging, but I don't think that term kind of fits in very well now.
Yeah.
Is an incredible career choice. I would definitely encourage people, aspiring content creators or young people that are looking and are making a decision about their career. And I would tell them this is a great prospect. It's a career where you really, really enjoy yourself. The opportunities are endless, absolutely boundless. Influencers, content creators are becoming they are such an integral part of the marketing ecosystem that they're not going anywhere, right? It's an invincible section now. And I feel like, in terms of monetary gain, the prospects are very, very large, based on how you kind of expand and grow your business. I think even in terms of monetary gain, the sky's the limit.
And I love that you say that so openly. I saw you answering some questions yesterday on your IG where someone said, you make a lot of money as an influencer. And you were not one to say false. I don't. Yeah, I do. But as long as you manage what you do well. And I think that's nice because a lot of younger folk out there can actually explain to their parents that this is a job I can actually do. This is something I can take up and earn my own money in a big way. So kudos to you for that.
So I want to 100%. And it's to be honest, it's the truth, right? So I feel like, and just women in general, especially in India, are very afraid to kind of have that conversation about money or talk openly about what kind of income they're making, what their revenue looks like. And I feel like if we're more open about it, as someone who has a large community, and I mean, so do you, Shan, which is amazing. I think there's so many people out there who are watching like every little step. Yeah. And if we start breaking these little norms, like even just having a conversation about money openly, I think it can actually impact so many lives.
Totally agree. That's really one of point that needs to be highlighted. So I want to ask you, you moved, you got married to Shellen, you moved to Antwerp. And when you did, you were like the topmost Indian influencer, you still are. But I'm saying it was not easy. I mean, you moved overnight, but you managed to still create, Masoom Meenawala, the content creator, the influencer. How have you managed that to create relatable Indian content with Indian designers and really stay in touch?
So, Shan, this was definitely a huge question in my mind. And I would be lying if I didn't say I wasn't scared. I wasn't, I was just so nervous about kind of moving countries. And especially because I had an established audience, established clientele, established business. Yeah. And I felt like if I was moving my entire base to a different country, I didn't know how I was going to deal with that. But one thing I was very sure about is that I was confident that I would figure it out, right? Like I was, and I think just being Bombay girls, like hustle is like a part of our ecosystem. It's in our blood, and we don't give up easily, like absolutely not. So I think I definitely had an attitude where I was not ready to give up. I knew I would figure it out, and I didn't want to stress too much on the how. And I think with content creation, the one thing is that it's all about you, right? And you really have to look within, because on the internet there's so many content creators. The actual key to just being a great content creator is, and I don't mean to sound generic, but it's just to be authentic. Like you really have to talk about what you believe in. You have to do things and create something that you believe in. And I felt like when I moved, that realization hit me, because I was like, it doesn't matter really where I am, which part of the world I'm in, or who I'm surrounded with. If I'm just true to myself and I'm able to be honest with my audience, it would work out well. And I think step number one was actually being honest with my audience that, listen, I've moved and I'm lost. Being honest with my audience and saying that, listen, I'm going to go to Fashion Week. I don't have an invite to a show, but I'm going to go there and I'm going to figure it out. Yeah. And I think that relatability is really built because that's the thing about having a community, right? You don't treat them, if you treat them as a community, they're going to give you that kind of respect back. Yeah. But if you yourself don't believe in them that they're going to have your back, then they're not going to have your back. I think this trust also begins from you. And then slowly I saw the amount of advantages that actually being in Europe could have to my business, which is one, I was able to have a more global perspective on how the whole blogging and content creating industry works, because it works so differently in every other part of the world than in India. And I feel like I was able to bring that global perspective back to my Indian clients and actually create a much larger impact for them. Plus, I think my accessibility to like fashion capitals like Paris and Milan was very, very helpful. Another thing is, I think I was really able to impact the strategy of my business because I saw how other content creators were playing it over here. And that it was such a huge differentiating factor from the way the Indian ecosystem was working, that I think just being able to merge these two cultures and build something unique for myself became my USP in the Indian market.
Absolutely. I mean, I have to say that one thing is that you create much more Indian content than any other influencer that I know. That's one. And two is, you're right, it changed your perspective. And at some point, you need to really be pulled out of your everyday to be like, hey, let's think differently, right? So you didn't really take it you didn't take it in a negative way, but you took it in a very positive way. And I want to ask you one thing. Like you mentioned, you reached there and you didn't have an invite to Fashion Week, but you made sure. And today you've been going to Fashion Week consistently for 3 years. So how was that experience? How was it working with different people that because I'm sure people were different to what they are here today.
Definitely. I mean, to be honest, subtle racism is subtle is a subtle way of putting it, but it's very, very relevant and apparent, and it's there. And it's majorly there. And I think today, women of color is a heavily discussed topic, and it's something that has a lot of awareness. But even 3 years ago, this was a major issue. So an Indian girl in Paris, with a very heavy Indian accent, is not something that flies well with, say, like the French fashion industry.
Yeah.
And I think it was hard, but frankly, I knew it was helpful to know that even if I failed, I mean, what was the worst that was going to happen, right? Nobody in Paris knows me. Like, literally, like, what is the worst that's going to happen? I might as well give it a shot.
Yeah.
Because if it works out, it's going to turn out well. And I would literally, the first time I went to Fashion Week, I was just asking everyone I know if they had any access to shows, because I wanted to attend shows. And I would just blatantly ask, but I just say, I'm going to create content about the show. Is there anyone you know that could connect me? I was like literally, and I was messaging people in India because I didn't know that many people here.
Yeah.
I knew a few people in London because, London has a large like Indian diaspora. So I was messaging a few people in London, and then pretty much in India, Bombay, Delhi, people that, who maybe worked in Paris before. And there was actually someone who I barely knew, and I reached out to him because he worked in the PR industry, and I knew he had moved back from Paris. And I messaged him saying, I really want to attend Paris Fashion Week. How do I go about it? He gave me like a list of emails that I could actually reach out to. So I feel like if you don't take that first step, and it's that first step is going to be awkward, it's going to be embarrassing, and it's going to have a large chance of failure. But
Yeah.
unless you do, you really don't know what's on the other side of the bridge. So you absolutely just have to take that leap of faith. And honestly, in general, when I work, I always set goals, and then I figure out how I'm going to achieve them. So I prefer to see my end goal first and then figure out how I'm going to work towards it. And that just makes it a lot easier.
Amazing, Masoom. That's great advice for anyone that's really like me. I doubt myself, like I was telling you a lot, and I am constantly rethinking, should I be doing this? Should I not? How do I reach here? I think that's great. You've gone to an unknown place, knowing no one, and just reaching out to people and saying, get me in there. And that's great advice. I want to ask you, like we were talking about you staying in touch with India and Indian designers. We noticed you support a lot of Indian designers, and you do a lot of free content. And I'm purposely saying this because usually people that are content creators charge for each and everything. So I know that you support a lot of Indian designers and give them a chance to be showcased. Are you wearing the clothes? What was your thought behind this, and how did it really start?
So, it actually started just regarding what I was just talking about, is having a global perspective. Because the way the Indian creator industry works is that every creator is doing an enormous number of paid collaborations a month. So if you're looking at the typical fashion and lifestyle blogger, influencer, they're doing 20 to 30 paid collaborations a month, which is a lot, Shan. It's a lot. If you compare that to the rest of the world, they're doing 2 to 3 paid collaborations a month. Their ticket price is way larger per collaboration. So monetarily, it kind of works out. But that means that they have so much more space to actually create organic content, and more importantly, to create a community.
Yeah.
And I genuinely saw this as a major gap in our industry. That why is there not enough organic content?
Yeah.
And I think it was this sort of like revelation where I was like, let me take a step back and look at my content and be like, is this something that I want to see as my audience? Like, I don't want to see somebody promoting like a different dress like every single day. It's not the future, and like you don't, I am happy to see makeup recommendations, but I don't want to hear about a new offer every day.
Yeah.
It's not my type of content. So I think, and I think at this point is also where my love for business and strategy kind of comes in, along with content creation, because I think content creation is just a part of it, is where I'm able to really, put myself as a consumer, as my own audience, and then look at my business from a wider angle and ask myself that is this what I'm creating? Is this what someone actually is interested in or wants to see? And I think that's what kickstarted the journey. And I really think that I've been doing this for 10 years, only 4 to 5 years full time, but 10 years. And I've built a very strong community. And at some point of time, you have to give back. And I think supporting designers is an initiative of mine I'm not giving back to my community, but I want to give back to the industry. Because I would definitely not be nowhere without the industry, and it's kind of that's the whole root of the initiative.
Yeah, and kudos to you, because I've seen a lot of people who you have posted about and possibly given the chance to even be showcased in that reel or that video or that post, selling out on that piece, and you're really supporting a small business grow. And if we've seen anything in COVID, we should support small businesses. I've been harping about this from day one, but I think that supporting them during a period where we've really had no business for 1 year, so kudos to you, because that's amazing that they can really sell out and do well at this time. So I want to ask you, this is because we're talking about you and you've been here 10 years. If you were an influencer who started today, now the market's very crowded today. When you started, there was practically no one. Would you do anything differently?
I wouldn't, because I think when I started off, it was a very organic way of starting. It was, just, I don't know, Wim, I wasn't overthinking it. I was just so passionate about it. I was just creating stuff and, taking pictures, like begging people to take photos of me. So I don't think I would do anything differently at all, actually. But I do think that I actually don't think the space is that crowded. I think there is so much more potential. If people just stop looking on Instagram and start looking within in terms of what they can offer, I think the opportunities are still endless. Like, I really think there's a lot of space. Because I think there's a large number of creators, but everyone is in this one bucket. But I feel like there's so much other space around that's inviting and open.
Absolutely. So much unique content that's left to be created, like we discussed. So tell me, Masoom, this is a technical question, because I get a lot of people asking me this, because I'm on the brand side a lot of the time. I see a lot of brands approaching influencers in the worst way possible. And when I come in, I'm just like, you can't behave like this, and you can't be, thinking business runs like this. There are a lot of people who just think barter is the way to go because you are an online content creator, or they just send a random message which doesn't even explain what they want. Have you experienced this, and any advice to a brand that wants to go the influencer route?
So I have definitely experienced it, but the way I see it is, I just look at it like plain old hustle, right? So when a brand is reaching out to me and like asking me for a barter, or asking me for a feature if I like their product, I actually don't think there's anything wrong in it. And this is something that content creators and influencers talk about very often. Just be like, how can a brand do this? I don't get it. Why should a brand not do it? Today, if I was running a brand, my first step would be, and as someone who actually cares about their balance sheet, my first step would be to try and get something, unpaid from a content creator, or ask them to feature a product. It's not a bad thing. And frankly, this is a way that I am introduced to so many brands. So many of my supporting and designers or unpaid collaborations are literally from people who've just reached out to me or my team. The better route is the team, definitely. So I would recommend that to businesses. But I think it's never harmful to give it a shot. Like, I don't think it's harmful at all. And it's not like there's not enough business opportunities in the case. In this industry for you to kind of make that money. But as a brand, if I was running a brand, the first thing I would do is want to introduce my product to all influencers and content creators that I love, and just ask them for their feedback, or ask them, would you like to try my product out? Maybe I wouldn't ask them for a guaranteed feature in return, But it is, if there's a content creator and influencer that you admire and you like, it's probably for a reason. And they obviously hold a certain value or a certain ethic, sort of, that's why you like them and you're able to relate to them. And if they are of that value and ethic, then they're probably going to feature the product if they really, really like and enjoy it. So, I think if you just look at it from a point of view where you approach someone from a very, without really commanding anything from them, but ask them to try a product or ask them to simply give you feedback on the product, because that can be very helpful. Because at the end of the day, content creators and influencers are experts, right? Or that's how I like to believe that if they're doing this, and they're experts in some way. That could be very, very valuable. Another, and I think I think that's just a great way to approach it. Yeah.
That's an amazing thought, because I've never really thought of it that way. And I think that, like, for example, I do a lot of barters, and if people approach me for networking now, I'm happy to support them. But I understand that you must be inundated with people reaching out to you, but still you're saying that, and that's commendable that you're willing to help. And you're right. Initially, when you're starting out, budgets are very low. So we have to respect that. I want to ask.
Yeah, of course.
Masoom, during COVID, you were there, right? You were in Antwerp. What was it like for you creating, just being in touch with the community? Because we're so used to being out and about all the time. I'm used to being at events, planning, meeting people. A lot of people, networking now took a big turn at this time, and I feel like I went much more digital, and I loved it. What was your experience of really connecting with your community in a time like this? Because you created so much home content. I'm sure that there were times Shelin was told to leave the room for multiple videos in short. But how was
So firstly, it was amazing, because I think, all this extra skin and extra layers that I think people were putting on, including me, just kind of shed, right? Because you were just left with that camera, that tripod, your phone, and yourself. That's all you had in COVID, and your existing wardrobe. And I think what people have created with that is spectacular. So I think what it started off is that audiences loved that a very honest, a very true side of content creators is coming out. Who they really are at home, who they really are with their friends and family, what they do in their free time, because everyone was so damn free. And people loved that.
Yeah.
But then, Shaan, it got really, really exhausting, because the internet was consuming content at the speed of it was absolutely insane.
Yeah.
And I was getting exhausted because, frankly, everybody was chilling, right? My husband was on leave. My in-laws were at home. They were not working. Everyone, all my friends everywhere was playing Ludo all day, just Netflixing, and they were just having a blast. And I was just working my butt off, and I was exhausted. And at this time, I had to kind of take a step back and take that business and strategic decision for my business, which said that, listen, this is a golden period, and I'm not going to get this golden period back, because the way the internet is consuming content, they're never going to consume it like this, because they're never going to have this much free time.
Yeah.
So I literally I just need to suck it up, and I just need to create more content than I've ever created. I need to ideate, and I need to conceptualize more than I ever have. And I just need to ride out this wave, because it's not going to come back. So I just kind of committed. I had a conversation with my husband, and I was like, I'm sure there's lots of couples out there who are spending lots of time together. But I was like, genuinely, this is a decision that I need to take for my business. And I know that it can greatly impact my business in the long run. But I need to be working full time or overtime, if not full time. And, I went for it. And it was amazing, because I've been able to more than double my audience in a year, compared to that first 400,000 I had built over 5 or 6 years. And the first 600,000 that I grew just in 1 year has been over a period of 12 months. So I think it's been amazing. It's been really, really good, for sure.
Hats off to you, because I know that it was not hard. I know I was doing a live a day, and I thought that, okay, I'm exhausted. I even did it for a brand, and I felt like at the end of the day, I was working more than I normally would on a normal day, So
Yeah, of course, of course.
and I think a lot of brands really realized using the digital platform now was the right way where to invest. So then influencers also became very much more in demand with brands which probably wouldn't put money in digital earlier, right?
Yeah.
So that was
Now
a
they didn't really have a choice, right? Because now it's pretty much the only way.
yeah, absolutely. Okay, so Masoom, since you're always on the move, these are my last two questions for you. But since you're always on the move, what's a day in your life like? How do you manage? Because I do know that you help with Kai, which is your brother and sister-in-law's shoe brand as well, and Lion Jewelers, which is a home jewelry brand for you. So how are you like the consultant, the influencer, the wife, the daughter-in-law? How do you manage your days? The daughter?
Um, I every day is so different, and I feel like I basically live like dual lifestyles. Between when I'm in Antwerp and when I'm in India, my day is like very different. So I'll actually tell you about both. So in Antwerp, it's a very beautiful, very calm, like major like quality life that I live. So I basically when I'm here, I'm shooting twice a week, and the so I like to work only 4 days in a week. 2 days I shoot, and 2 days I work on strategy. Um, just in terms of like just looking over my goals and like working with my team on what's coming up next, content ideation, and then whatever I'm doing to help the other brands that I'm involved with. Um, and that's pretty much how it goes through. But frankly, in a pre-COVID lifestyle, I traveled a lot for events. So every time I was doing that, it would also completely uproot this typical this thing. So I think for a content creator, it's such a dynamic life. There's no routine. And then when I'm in Bombay, I have to prioritize family time. I have to prioritize my friends that I never see. I have to prioritize my meetings with my clients that I don't get to see as often because I spend so much time here. So that's also like a massive like jumble of like just meeting people, connecting over things that I really love and enjoy, and also getting that downtime and spending time with family and friends. So it's really like varied. But every time I'm in Bombay, I feel like I'm not being able to commit to work as much because there's so many meetings, right, that happen, and there's so much networking that goes on in Bombay. And I mean, who better to know about that than you?
Yeah.
But
It must be in demand because you come for 2 weeks and then it's like, let's meet. Now Zoom is
yeah,
just the best way to move forward.
yeah.
Yeah, it's hectic. I can imagine it being very hectic for you. So, Masoom, I want to ask you, what would you say is a milestone moment in your life for the brand that you've created? Uh, is there any moment that you can tell us which was like, hey, I've arrived, like now I know I've hit my first milestone?
So I think it was definitely walking the red carpet at Cannes Film Festival. I think that was huge. That was amazing. It felt incredible. And just being able to like represent India on that global scale was an absolute win, absolute win. And just seeing the lack of like Asians and Indians there, it was so it was a very proud moment. But even apart from that, I think uh, this is a very big win for me in 2020 was actually building the kind of community that I've managed to build. Uh, and that was not an aha moment, but it's been like a series of aha moments. But I really feel like I've been able to build an incredible community that is so intelligent, that is so opinionated. Like every time I'm having a conversation with them, there's so much that I am learning, and every time they're asking me questions, or if I'm doing like a random poll on Instagram, I understand the quality of the community that is present on my Instagram is so strong, is so well educated, is so intelligent, has so many different perspectives, and I'm really proud of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And that actually brings me to my last question, which is about community. It's about networking because I also have a community and I'm so pro networking. And when I hear people talk about it in a negative way and say, she's so networked or she's, or this one is a social climber, I hate it. I'm just like, guys, it's a positive thing. Use it in a positive way. So you've built a And like you said, when you come to Bombay, I love that you said you don't meet up with people, but you have so many networking meetings, and that's absolutely positive and fine. So any tips that you could share with brands that probably will watch this and need to and want to create a community around their brand?
So I think in Bombay and in India, it's great because in general, there is so much of everything, right? There are so many minds that you can actually share opinions and share perspectives with. And a big part of my business has been getting that advice or that input from people. Like I know, Shan, and last time I met you, you gave me so many incredible ideas and really pushed my envelope, that pushed me to think beyond the ordinary and out of the box. And I think the problem really lies is that, there are so many people who are introverts and who don't. And frankly, I feel like now I'm very confident. I wasn't back in the day. I didn't think I could be in a room and have the kind of confidence it takes to actually walk up to someone and say something. So I think that's actually the obstacle that really, needs to be overcome. Where I think what people don't understand is that everyone wants to talk to new people, and everybody wants to hear about what you're doing, what your ideas are, what your opinions are. And whoever is listening, like you are one of those people. So when you walk into a room and you're feeling underconfident or shy about kind of going up to someone and introducing themselves, like just remember that everyone in that room is having the same feeling, right? So it's all about like taking that first step. It's all about like taking that leap of faith, because you really never know where that one conversation can lead you. You don't know what kind of opportunity that one conversation has. And there's only, like, this is one thing that I really truly believe in, is that there's only that much that you can do on your own. you know and of course your team plays an important role, but I really think it's important to be surrounded by people who will inspire you, who will be able to expand your mind with different perspectives and who don't have the same goals as you, because that's where the real value of conversation lies.
Absolutely. So, I mean, for example, just before we started this interview, you inspired me and you've given me some advice which really will stick with me. So I think it's not about setting an hour aside and saying, let's get on a call and chat, but it's in the everyday, and it's with whoever you talk to, you should learn something. So,
Yes, definitely.
Martha, thank you so much. I can't thank you enough. It's been lovely chatting with you. You're inspiring. You're really taking India on the map, and you're doing a wonderful job doing it. And you've stayed the same from day one to today. So kudos to that.
Thank you, Shan. Thank you so, so much. It's always a pleasure talking to you.
See you soon.
See you. Lots of love.